What's going on? What's going on? This is my first time recording a video of myself. I'm going to talk about, what's going on in my life. Talk about me joining the Catholic Church, getting my confirmation in the church, how I feel about it. Do I feel like it's made a difference? Do I feel, how would you say, better, more blessed after going through the process of joining the Catholic Church? Now, I would say I definitely do. I like going to the building, but it's not about the building. It's about believing in God and going back and looking on what's happened in the past of your life. When you come to confirmation with Jesus and you start thinking about God, you gotta say, what type of hoops have I, burning hoops, I would say, have I walked through in life where it gets to a point, especially if you're like me, who have a history of drugs and alcohol, gets to a point where you survive so many times and you are protected, because not everyone's protected, and some people want to use that type of thoughts where people dying every day. God wouldn't let that happen, but you need to focus on yourself. Realize, even though I've made a million mistakes, drugs, alcohol, relationships, who knows what sins that we've got involved in, stealing, all these type of things. I've done it. Most people have, but I, for one, knowing what I know now, especially when you're dealing with our government and let's just say the beast system, it's becoming pretty evident that, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and otherwise, what purpose would it serve? All these wars, all this symbolism of the beast and pushing the beast system. I could go on all day about this stuff, but I just wanted to preface this video with the fact that I'm confirmed in the Catholic Church. Highly skeptical. Of course, I'm skeptical of the church, but I decided you cannot be completely skeptical of everything to the point where you just shut down and I don't know. I was becoming a little bit of a hermit, bad relationships, drugs, alcohol. It's not like drugs and alcohol abuse is the minority. I've always felt deep down bad about my addictions and everything, but I didn't really understand how, when I got started so early, how bad it could really get. I guess I could say the fun that I've had abusing drugs and alcohol. Great time, almost died many times, done a bunch of stupid shit, but we had fun, right? And that's the main point when you're doing drugs, right? You want to have fun. But as I get older and as the drugs became stronger, it went from fun to stupid, deadly choices, and digging myself deeper and deeper into addiction, hard drugs, alcohol. It's not an exception. This drugs and alcohol is the norm, and we're walked right into it. In my opinion, it seems like we're walked right into it, and just say no. I guess should have listened to that. Just say no. But from when I was in high school, puffing the weed and then getting into harder drugs, and the drug game now with the prescriptions, government drugs, and then turned into fentanyl and who knows, methamphetamine, all these things, harder and harder drugs, gets a little bit insane, I would say. It gets a little bit insane, I would say. I haven't been clean for a long time. You know, I've abused hard drugs recently. I take prescription drugs now, and I used to drink all the time, and I'm just quitting off that now. I'm glad I went into the Catholic Church and did it the right way, got my confirmation and everything. Just hold up one second. Where were we? Oh yes, joining the Catholic Church. God is good and all that good stuff. Yes, it's a process you go through. You take classes, go through Easter, then you get your confirmation after. Surprisingly enough, the Pope died the day after I got confirmed in the Catholic Church. So to me, that was just like, that is strange. Strange stuff happening. But spirituality is important. Gotta have faith. Can't let these little things bother me, which they do. With broken trust, you name it. Man, it's bright in here. But I feel better. I'm starting over mentally after my baptism. And I can give you some, I was getting caught up in drugs too. Going to church under the influence sometimes. I don't even like to say it. And I felt bad, but I straightened it out. It's a 6 months period. I'm trying to remember the word, the scrutiny. You get a 6 month scrutinies, and you take your classes, and then you get confirmed in the church. Now, I don't know if this brightness is affecting this video, but hey, I hope not. I can't see very well, but I'm done though. Drugs, alcohol, perfect way to start over. And I don't need to go too deep into that, but it is something that I've been experiencing, and I've been struggling with drugs and alcohol for a while. I've been watching other content creators battling with this, and it's helped me out tremendously. I mean, it's at a drop of a dime. You can get every drug easily these days. It's flooded. Fentanyl, meth, pills, easy. Could get any of it, easy. Heroin, any day of the week. Can go to the store, grab a couple tall cans of beer, and take a flight anytime, just like that. It's not good. I'm 42 years old. I have suffered more overdoses than I can even remember. Double digits, probably, hospitalizations, all these things. So I'm glad I've come to terms with my spirituality, and the older I get, the clearer I can see it. The clearer I can see the way that these powers use deception and every way possible to try to make you feel bad. All the entertainment is based in rubbing money in your face, trying to get you to reduce to your lower mentality sexually, and these celebrities are rewarded well for, basically dragging the population down into the dumps. And it's a sad thing. And I I love rap music, you know what I mean? I haven't been listening to so much lately, but, you know, uh, it definitely got me into trouble, I would say, listening to rap all the time when I was younger, bobbing my head as I take my drugs, you know? That's all I really cared about. Drugs, drugs, drugs. 20s, 30s, now into my 40s, and I'm still barely getting over it. I mean, it's, I take prescription pills now, I've drinking within the last week and other stuff. I don't want to get into it, but the list of drugs and and how easy it is to get drugs now is ridiculous. And there's no way for me to really hide from it. I could get drugs easily. Luckily, I'm in rehab. I get tested. I take Subutex, an opiate blocker. I don't really want to make this video so much about drugs, but it's all connected. It's spiritual warfare. It really is. When you consider the amount of satanic symbolism that is looped into every facet of what you're looking at on the screen, especially if you're not aware of it now, I could probably explain it more. Maybe I will in some later videos, but you're completely bogged down by satanic symbolism all over the phone, all over the apps. It's everywhere, and the spiritual warfare is not a joke. If you don't dot your I's and cross your T's in finances, which I haven't, and you're gonna get hit. I'm one of those people who owes school loans that I have not been paying. I've been having them deferred or whatever. It'd be nice if the government would step in and pay it off, but they're not going to do that. I was not smart in the way that I did it because half of my student loans were paid for cash by my wonderful mother. But I neglected them, didn't pay my half. Now it's went into default and I owe the whole thing now over again. That money just got thrown out the window. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to make money to deal with this school loan. Because forgiveness is not on the horizon, as they say. It sucks to be financially bogged down by stupid choices I made back when I was just working, drinking, chugging alcohol. Pretty much figured that I was going to die, so why would I pay that? And I almost did die, but fortunately I didn't die, so that's a good thing. I'm not going to get too depressed about this debt that I have, though, because I don't think I could get any more depressed about it if I tried, to be honest. But we're starting a new day. It's only 50 grand. It seems like it'd be impossible for me to get my hands on 50 grand, basically the way I've been living and what I've been doing. But I think maybe if I persevere, I can get the money to pay back that school loan. And I just got a job today. That's a start at Lowe's. And, I've been out of work for a while. I did work for a little while at Target during the season, but then they ended up letting me go after season. So, and that place, working at Target, is like the easiest money you can ever have. So there's that. I was kind of depressed that when they cut me off, but what are you going to do? I'm about to get a job at Lowe's now. I see, though, a lot of, just if you read the comment sections, it's kind of gets on my last nerve. Like, about on this school loan forgiveness stuff, and people are all like, oh yeah, I did everything right. I paid back my school loans, and people who aren't paying back their school loans are basically stealing from us and all this crap, shaming you for having student loan debt, thinking that that's my money that I paid in taxes that you want forgiven, and all this crap. It can be very disheartening and annoying. Makes you want to punch somebody, but I digress. It sucks owing student loans, but when I was working as a chef, that's what my student loans are for. Going balls to the wall, trying to be Anthony Bourdain, sweating it out in the kitchen in the Caribbean, drugs, whatever you want is over there, and I was indulging in everything, and me paying back my school loans was about the last thing on my mind. I was drinking to a level to where I was like, I'm probably gonna die from this. So, fast forward 10 years or so, now I'm living with mom, school loan debts, pretty depressed a lot of the time. Don't necessarily feel like there's a way out for me, but it's not over yet for me. Slowly but surely, been coming out of my shell, applying for jobs, fighting the ruthless depression that comes with being buried in debt, living with your mom at 40, going nowhere, blah, 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 blah. But I chose to focus on spirituality, focus on getting my habits right, putting down the drink. I'm not drinking. I was smoking weed, taking edibles, whatever. I'm not doing any of that anymore. I've been newly renewed with my confirmation at the Catholic Church, and I know there's a lot of people who are skeptical of the Catholic Church, Christians who don't agree with the Catholic Church at all, and you think that it's idol worship and that it's false religion and all this stuff, but the Catholic Church has been around here a long time. I refuse to believe that everybody who is involved in the Catholic Church is actually blind to the fact that it's actually bad and there is no value to it. I had to think about that. I had to think about hard, because there's a lot of skepticism about the Catholic Church and people saying that, Christians who claim that God doesn't agree with the Catholic Church and that the priest there is a false idol. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about, because I've read a lot of negative comments and stuff about that, but I had to put on my critical thinking cap, and I decided to go through with the process, and I think it's been, it's had a positive effect, on me, you know what I mean? Now I have someone I can talk to if I do get wrapped up in sin, and I can go to confession and have someone, a trustworthy person, to talk to about it. That right there is, it's a blessing. I cannot believe that Jesus Christ condemned the Catholic Church with how much influence and how many people have gotten positive results from it. Now, I'm making sure to read a couple pages of my Bible a day. I know the stories. It's not the most interesting thing for me to read, but I'm pushing through it. I'm making sure that, sin is a no-go. The sin that I would want to get wrapped up in, if I was going to, is drugs, and I'm not even going to say alcohol. Alcohol can be used, without sin. If you're getting drunk and you feel like shit the next day, I feel like, that's not good. That's on you. I can't justify drinking liquid that's going to make me feel like shit the next day and be acting different. So But of course, you can have a little bit of beer and wine as a Catholic. They don't condemn it. So, but I'm trying to stay away from alcohol, and it's obvious stuff. Pornography, drugs. I've got wrapped up in it, but of course I don't want to. I never feel good about it, and I can choose at this point in my life not to do it. It doesn't have me in a clinch. It kind of had me in a clinch back when I just would use drugs and watch pornography periodically because my mindset wasn't even in any type of religion, or I just didn't really care. I was just going with this mainstream narrative to where none of that really matters, and they train you in school that pretty much that you don't got to worry about that. It's a tough one. I congratulate any people who came up, made it through high school, successfully went to school or successfully jumped into a career and never got wrapped up in drugs and alcohol, never really had a problem with pornography. I do believe that there's people who just kind of skate through life, it seems like, and they don't really get caught up in all this negative stuff. But for me, I didn't care about my life for whatever reason. I've always felt bad about myself. I just have. I feel bad. I actually feel bad that my mom's had to deal with how much that I really didn't care about my own life and everything. And it's really a blessing that I even survived it, because I could have been dead many times. Fentanyl overdoses, handful of them. I've been hospitalized for prescription pills overdoses, involved in stimulants, and I got strung out on Oxycontin back in the Oxycontin days, and it's crazy. Like, a thing about that, I just had a neighbor who, he's married, he's got some kids. Like, I always looked up to him. He's always been a cool dude. We went to the gym together and stuff. He always had it a little bit more together than me. Like, back when the day when we used to drink GHB, like, I would be G'd out and he usually wouldn't. Like, I always had to take the drugs one step farther. You know what I mean? But I talked to him, had a conversation with him when I'm walking the dog, and he drives by and he's like, yeah, man, have you been taking anything? And I told him, yeah, I do take Subutex opioid blocker, and then he mentioned to me that he is actually able to get Oxycontins from China, and that another one of our buddies who was married and had a kid had a huge falling out with his wife, and basically chose to just leave his family and be strung out on these pills. So it was surprising me that Oxycontins are actually back. OC addiction is back now, because you can order them from China. I don't even know if I can say that on here, but yeah. Matter of fact, you can order any drug from China, I imagine, if you know what you're doing. But anybody who knows about pills and drugs, especially Oxycontin, is that they put out these plastic pills that don't do anything. They, for whatever reason, they put their little tamper-proof pills on it, and you can't. They do nothing. And to me, I think that there might be a deeper reason behind them changing the formula to that pill. But I don't want to go too deep into that in this video, because I'm not sure exactly what the hell I can say. But you can get the point of what I'm saying. It really did a lot of damage to our country, those pills. And now you see the fentanyl crisis that we're having now. And people are dying. I don't know, you can put it together. There's a book, I forget the author, but it's called The Secret Destination of America. And it gets deep into, where we're headed. This country's on the downslide, in case anybody hasn't noticed. And I'm not sure exactly where they're taking us, but this country was used for a specific reason. And whatever they're trying to do is coming to fruition. A lot of people overdosed and died, and People are overdosing and dying every day. And, I don't think it's all just a big accident. There's forces in the United States and in the world. And these forces are strong and powerful, and they're ripping families apart. And, it all boils down to sin if you really want to get deep about it. And that's something that I'm trying to avoid like the plague these days, is sin. I don't need it. I have a big problem. I'm pretty much a brokey, so even to this day, if things go wrong and I lose $20, $50, small, minuscule amounts of money, I can get so mad about it. So I know that my heart is still so tightly wrapped to that dollar, you know what I mean? And it's easy for me to say, I just don't care about money anymore, How about that, I'm above it. I don't really care if I lose a $50 bill or if someone steals, if I make a mistake online and I lose $100, I don't care. Yeah, right. I've been mad over losing the $50 for like a week right now, which is ridiculous. And, I'm really hoping with my conversion, to the church, and just I'm growing more and more in a disdain for alcohol, because alcohol is, when you have a problem with alcohol, it goes deep, and it's not just limited to somebody who's addicted to liquor or anything. Like, not too long ago, I drank 2 24-ounce cans of beer, and literally ruined my whole weekend. I was mean to my mom. I shoved off my dog. There's so many ways to get tripped up with addiction and negative things you can do to yourself that affect your mood, which then affects how you interact with people. I've been very much a hermit shell. Nobody's got my phone number, you know what I mean? It's like that saying, I don't like nobody, it's bad enough that I have to deal with my neighbor that's in addiction, and to see her around when I'm walking my dog. I really need to just be focusing on myself. And there's just really no excuse for me to hit the rewind button with how much drugs and alcohol cost me in my life. I'm starting over right now, basically, as if I'm 18 years old again, with a bunch of student loan debt, and I'm happy that I can even get a job at Lowe's and work part-time and make a little bit of extra cash. I mean, that's how it is, but I refuse to just continue to be depressed and isolated. I've needed to be isolated to an extent just to heal enough to be able to show my face to the world and actually have a conversation, whether it be with this screen, which this is my first video, and I'm looking forward to putting it up, seeing if I get any feedback on it. But yeah, I mean, this America has so many issues, and I think the biggest issue that America is facing right now is this fentanyl overdose deaths. How many people a day are just dying a day? And to think that it could be by design is even more disheartening. I mean, because of my student loan debt, people say 40, 50 grand isn't a lot of money once people get their hand on some money, especially if they're making good, easy YouTube money. 40, 50 grand is nothing. If you don't got 40, 50 grand in the bank, you must be an idiot or whatever. And I don't even like to buy into that type of thought, but hey, there is some truth to it, though. If I would have just went through life and decided not to be completely obsessed with drugs and alcohol for 20 years straight, basically, I'm sure I'd be a little bit more ahead of the game. But here we are, At least I've been taking care of my health, you know what I mean? You could say I'm healthy. I have some small health problems. I would say I got a little bit of mental health going on. Uh, I suffered a traumatic brain injury from a fentanyl overdose a few years back. And did it change me? It's hard to tell. It really is hard to tell. Like, if I was talking into a camera before I got the TBI, would I be communicating smoother, different? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I've seen people who have traumatic brain injury bad, and you can definitely tell. I think I might be a little bit slow. I don't know. But, you know, that I've got a half an hour. That was my little first YouTube rant about joining the Catholic Church, how I feel about it, and some drug and alcohol issues and problems making money. Get to know me a little bit. I'm going to put the video up, find a clever name to name it, and see if I get any response to it. So other than that, we'll talk again. See you later.